Hello everybody and welcome back for some weekly VR news. As always, I'm Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. So this episode is just absolutely packed with new VR games and game updates. That's it. From beginning to end, we're going to be talking about games, no hardware stuff this week, so it's going to be an exciting one, and December is also looking pretty fantastic. Now there are of course links and timestamps if you want to skip ahead, but before we jump in, this video is brought to you by VR Rock, makers of prescription lens inserts for all of your favorite VR headsets. Quest 3 inserts are now available for purchase, and I'm extremely happy to announce that they've significantly dropped their pricing on this product. They magnetically connect for easy insertion and removal, so if you wear eyeglasses and struggle to fit them inside the VR headset, or you're concerned about scratching your lenses, go check out VR Rock down in the description, and don't forget to use discount code Mateo311 for 10% off and to help support my channel. Okay, so let's start this video off like normal with the check-in, and that's what exactly have I been up to in the VR world. I've been playing a lot more VR lately. I'm catching up on some titles that I missed, but I'm also working on some really fun videos that are not really typical for my channel. One is a bit of a hidden gem game that I found that I'm excited to show off, and another one involves my whole family that I'll post right before Christmas. It's got a little bit of a Christmas theme to it, but it's a lot of fun. I think you guys will enjoy that, so I'm really excited to show that off. But let's not waste any more time and jump into all of that game news, starting unfortunately with some delays we have to deal with. Two highly anticipated VR titles recently announced that they'll be delayed. The first is the VR port of the action-packed shooter Bullestorm. Now, we already know that some flat screen titles port amazingly well into VR, and I'm expecting that Bulletstorm will be another one of those games. Now, the title originally released back in 2011, but received numerous updates all the way up until 2017 with their full clip edition. Now, we don't get a lot of mature themed full-fledged games in VR, so it sucks that we'll have to wait a little bit later into 2024 for this title, but I'd much rather that they release a polished game rather than give us a terrible first impression, and the same goes for our next title, Stanger Things VR. Originally set to release this week, it was just announced that the game will be delayed. Now, a new date is yet to be confirmed, but developers Tenderclaw said they'll make an announcement in the very near future. Now, this is obviously another game I'm disappointed to see delayed, because I'm extremely intrigued to jump into the world of Stranger Things and get to take on the role of a power-hungry villain. Now, this is 100% up my alley, but if the developers think it needs a little bit more time, I 100% back up their decision. But now that the bad news is out of the way, let's jump into this week's new releases, starting with Terra Alia. Terra Alia is a language learning RPG set in a fantasy world. This is another title that's been ported from flat screen, and it can help you learn hundreds of words in 10 different languages, all while experiencing a gripping storyline, some challenging puzzles, and dynamic turn-based combat. So if you're a big fan of RPGs and interested in learning a new language, go ahead and check out Terra Alia. But if you prefer some 4v1 cross-reality combat, Davigo is finally releasing. Now, if you're not familiar with this title, it's been in development for years, and it puts one VR gamer up against 4 PC players. The PC player will take on the role of a giant creature that can literally squash, slap, or just yeet PC players into oblivion. It's a really fun dynamic that plays like David vs. Goliath, and I'm really happy to see the early access version finally making its way onto Steam and App Lab, with the full release scheduled for 2024. Now, our next upcoming release is a platformer that reminds me a bit of To the Top. The trailer itself doesn't show much, but you'll be climbing and traversing some exotic looking worlds, and even engaging in a bit of combat. Now, what sets this game apart is the fact that there's no stick movement, and you're going to be physically moving your body to get through this game's world. Now, if you're like me and need to see more before you consider picking this up, I'm happy to report there's a demo available on both Steam and App Lab. Now, another title I was extremely excited for and have already started playing through is Sniper Elite Winter Warrior. Now, I'm not allowed to give you my opinion just yet, but if you played the original or any of the flat screen titles, you should know what you're in for. This is a World War II themed, story-driven shooter that focuses on both stealth and sniping. It features an absolutely fantastic X-ray kill cam that just never gets old. Now, even though I thoroughly enjoyed the original game, I hope they bring a little bit more to the table this time around. And finally, in new releases, we should see Breachers on the PlayStation VR 2 this week. They announced that it was releasing in November without an official date, and this is the last week of November. So unless the game's gonna get delayed, we should be jumping in for that Rainbow Six Siege style combat in the very near future. Now, this game is from the same studio that brought us one of my favorite VR shooters, Hyperdash, and the community surrounding their new game is absolutely fantastic, so I'm happy to see it making its way onto the PlayStation VR 2. Now, that was all of this week's upcoming new releases, but I still have plenty of game announcements and game updates to go over. Seriously guys, today's list is absolutely insane, so let's just get into it. Starting with a release date for Vertigo 2 on the PlayStation VR 2. So after a brief delay, this absolutely amazing half-like shooter will be releasing on December 12th. In my opinion, this game is an absolute must-buy for any PCVR or PlayStation VR 2 owner, and it's currently in my list of top 10 VR games ever. It basically plays like Half-Life meets Rick and Morty, and there's just an insane level of attention to detail. There's twists and turns around every corner, and the game is exciting from beginning to end. So don't waste any more time, just go ahead and put this on your wish list right now, and then come back and thank me after you played it. Now we also got a new trailer and release window for Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2, which is a game that I know tons of people, just not me, have been eagerly waiting for. Now I'm not sure how a horror game featuring terrifying animatronics has become so popular, but you gotta give the people more of what they love, and that's apparently Five Nights at Freddy's. So go ahead and sign up for the most terrifying night shift of your life, and don't complain to me when it scares the crap out of you. Now the next new reveal trailer for Arken Age looks a lot more my style. This action-adventure title features physics-based combat, Arcanite-infused swords and guns, and some pretty fantastic graphics. Now, I'm not exactly sure why, but I get a little bit of Stormland vibes here, mixed with a bit of a more mature-themed shooter. I'm really not sure what to think about this game just yet. It looks great, and it could be one of those games that's a surprise hit, or just absolute disappointment. Hopefully it's the former, but we'll have to wait until this game's released to find out, and there's no date for it just yet. Now, another great-looking shooter is going from a Half-Life Alyx mod to a full standalone game, and that's Gunman Contracts. This new standalone version is built from the ground up and will be playable in both flat and VR modes. It's an action-inspired shooter that has you taking on the role of a hitman and will make you feel like John Wick himself. Now, we recently got some new footage for this game, but unfortunately we need to wait till 2024 just for the early access release. But if all of this blood and guts isn't for you, we have Wallace and Gromit: The Grand Getaway. Prepare yourself for a humorous journey filled with two iconic characters. Now, I'm expecting something similar to Sam & Max, this time it's virtual, which is basically a cute animated story filled with a bunch of VR-inspired minigames. Now, humor is very subjective, and I think that's where this game will either hit or miss. Now, they also recently announced that there will be a mixed reality experience, so that could also be a nice little fun add-on. But let's stick with animated experiences for a minute, and VR's finally getting something that I've always wanted. A Gundam VR animated series is coming. Now, it wasn't specifically Gundam that I was looking for, but I always believed that anime would work so well in VR. Baobab Studios already has some incredible VR animation like Bonfire, Invasion, and Paper Birds, so I know just how well this can work. And now the fact that they're using an already popular series, I have some seriously high hopes here. Now, if you're not looking to buy anything new right now, I have a huge list of game updates to go over, starting with a mixed reality mode for Golf Plus. If you're a fan of both Golf and VR, you most likely already checked out Golf Plus, and soon you'll be able to take advantage of their mixed reality mode. Now, I have ragged on MR a bit in the past, but here it definitely makes sense, and it'll be just like having your own putting green in your living room. You also don't have to worry about smacking someone with a virtual club, because you could see your surroundings. Now, I'm personally not a big fan of the sport and have never played Golf Plus, so you guys will just have to let me know if it's good or not. Now, an update that interests me a lot more is the co-op mode for Ancient Dungeons. Ancient Dungeons was already a beloved roguelite dungeon crawler, and in the near future, you'll get to bring a friend along to help you with some physics-based combat. Now, at first glance, this title almost looks like Minecraft, but I have to say it works surprisingly well in VR, and there's a reason why so many people love this game. Now, an even bigger update is coming for Contractors, as they're introducing Battle Royale in their new Showdown mode. Now, it's currently only in closed alpha, so it's going to be a while before we get into this. However, the developers have stated that matches will be able to go up to 45 players. That's absolutely insane, and there's really nothing else in VR like it right now. Now, another game I'm extremely excited to see some updates for is Dungeons of Eternity. The developers have recently given us a roadmap from now until the end of next year. Before the end of the year, we'll see new monsters, weapons, cosmetics, and even a few surprises. Throughout 2024, there'll be new difficulty options, game modes, offline play, monsters, weapons, bosses, dungeons, you name it. Basically, the theme is more. I'm already a huge fan of this title. It's easily the best co-op dungeon crawler, and if you were looking for new content, don't worry, it's coming soon, and will continue throughout next year. And finally, in our update news, Everslaught Invasion is getting a much-needed overhaul. Now, I was actually asked to do some sponsored content for this game back in the day, and I turned it down after trying the experience. Everything I loved about the PC version of Everslaught was lost in this standalone game, and both the melee and weapon combat was so bland that it lacked any sort of impact. Now, the Resurgence update is set to enhance the game for Quest 3, and also overhaul all of the gameplay mechanics. I wish the studio a lot of success here, but in this case, it might be too little too late to bring any players back. Now, let's just finish up this video with some pretty awesome deals. There is the possibility that you may have received 6 months of Meta's subscription service, Quest Plus, for absolutely free. Now, this is something that actually comes with the purchase of a 512GB model of the Quest 3, But many users who only purchased the 128GB model, and even some Quest 2 owners, have reported that they have access to the 6-month free trial. Now, it's possible this was an issue on Meta's side, because some people said they only briefly had the option and now it's gone. But it might be worth it to open up your Meta app on your phone, go to the menu, Quest Plus, and see what free trial they have to offer. And finally, there's a massive deal going on for the Pico 4 right now. For 330 euros or roughly 360 US, you'll get the 128GB model of the Pico 4, plus 3 high-quality games, including the soon-to-be-released Arizona Sunshine 2. Now, I actually really like the Pico 4. However, even at this price tag, for standalone VR gaming, it's hard to recommend. The Quest 3 has that more powerful processor, and it's getting bigger and better games. But if you are looking for a PCVR headset that won't break the bank, the Pico 4 is absolutely fantastic in this regard. It works great with virtual desktop, you get that pancake lens, high resolution, solid product there. So if you're looking for something for PCVR and you're in Europe, go ahead, check this headset out. I do recommend it.
And that was today's video, brought to you by my dad, Mateo311. If you enjoyed it, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here,
Consider subscribing.
consider
subscribing.
Consider subscribing.
Consider subscribing.
Consider subscribing.
We'll see you guys on next time.
We'll see you guys on next time.